What if the greatest structure of the ancient world is still hiding the one answer we need most? How did people without modern machines build something that modern engineers still struggle to explain? How were these grand monuments begins healed, and purpose did they truly serve? This story is one of precision, power, and possibly the unknown forces that shaped ancient Egypt. The pyramids rise from the earth as silent giants, crafted from millions of stones, each weighing several tons. Yet how did a sit have been built alone? Pharaoh Khufu, the king who commissioned the Great Pyramid, remains enigmatic. Khufu's pyramid, his legacy raises a question. Why create was Nafinin for an historical ruler? Throughout history, many theories have been proposed to explain how the pyramids were constructed. Some believe massive ramps were used to move the enormous stone blocks into place. It is believed that tens of thousands of workers, skilled laborers and craftsmen, built the pyramids, not slaves. How did such a large workforce coordinate such an immense project without the aid of modern technology? Something does not align with simple explanation. The Great Pyramid is not only large, it is mathematically precise in ways that demand attention. The alignment goes further than structure. The pyramid is oriented almost perfectly to true north. Not magnetic direction, but true geographic alignment. The pyramid shape is not accidental. It distributes weight downward, creating structural stability. This allows height without collapse while maintaining. The shape also lacks internal bowing. The stones used in construction weigh several tons, requiring controlled movement across land. Scaling this method required coordination, timing, and continuous manpower without interruption. Transport explains horizontal movement, but lifting remains unresolved. Theories suggest ramps, yet large-scale evidence remains limited and incomplete. The Chalmanes drawing, the outer structure is only part of the system. Inside the pyramid, a network of corridors and chambers reveals deliberate internal planning. Each section is line of intent, assisting controlled movement through the structure. The outer structure is only part of the system. Inside the pyramid, a network of corridors and chambers reveals deliberate internal planning. The ascending passages and internal pathway. Unlike later structures, the interior contains no visible decoration or carved text. This absence raises questions about whether function exceeded symbolic display. Narrow shafts extend from internal chambers toward the outer structure.
These channels are too small for movement, yet precisely angled. Their direction suggests connection to celestial points rather than airflow.
Not all materials were sourced locally. Some stones traveled long distances. Granite used internally came from distant regions. This processed in timing, labor crowd transport. The scale of construction required more than labor. It required organization across thousands of individuals. Each group handled a specific task, forming a structured system rather than random effort. The known tools were simple, yet the results appear complex and precise. Copper is soft, yet the cuts in hard stone remain sharp and controlled. This creates a gap between known tools and observed results. The estimated construction period spans around 2 decades. Within this time, millions of stones were extracted, transported, and placed. This required uninterrupted all stays. The base of the pyramid is nearly perfectly level across its entire area. Achieving this required careful preparation of the ground before construction began. The pyramid was once covered in smooth outer casing stones. These stones reflected sunlight, creating a bright outer surface. Most casing stones are gone, leaving only the inner core visible today. Moving stone across land required more than strength. It required method and control.
To drag massive blocks across sand surfaces.
Water reduced friction, allowing smoother movement across distance. The process began at the quarry, where stone was cut with controlled precision. Blocks were shaped before transport, matching required dimensions. This ensured efficiency during placement at the construction site. The pyramid was built in layers, each level placed above the previous one. Each layer had to be stable before the next could begin. This required continuous checking to maintain alignment. The pyramid shape distributes weight downward and outward. This reduces internal stress and prevents structural collapse. The design ensures stability over long periods of time. One of the most unusual aspects is the lack of detailed construction records. No complete written explanation of the process has been found. This leaves the method partially until result. The workers who built the pyramid operated within a structured living system near the site. Housing, food storage, and basic care were organized to support long-term labor designed to maintain continuous work. The flooding of the Nile influenced labor availability throughout the year. During flood periods, farming paused, freeing workers for construction. This allowed efficient use of manpower without disrupting survival systems. The flooding of the Nile influenced labor availability throughout the year. During flood periods, farming paused, freeing workers for construction. This allowed efficient use of survival systems. The pyramid has remained stable for thousands of years. Environmental forces have affected the surface, but not the core structure. This reflects correct design choices made during construction. Inside the pyramid, temperature remains more stable than the extreme heat outside. The thickness of the stone slows heat transfer and protects the internal spaces. This suggests that internal conditions were considered as part of the design. Sound behaves differently inside the pyramid than it does in open space. Certain chambers create echo and resonance because of their shape and material. Inside enclosed stone structures. The Grand Gallery is one of the most complex internal features of the pyramid. The design combines space, strength, and alignment within a narrow passage. The Grand Gallery is one of the most complex internal features of the pyramid. Its high-sloped ceiling and stepped walls reflect careful internal engineering, combine space, strength, and alignment within a narrow passage. The pyramid maintains symmetry across all sides, creating balance from base to top. Each side follows the same angle and proportion to preserve structural stability. This symmetry reveals constant monitoring during construction. The orientation of the pyramid is one of its most precise features, aligned closely with the cardinal directions. This degree of accuracy required repeated observation of the sky and careful ground marking. The orientation of the pyramid is one of its most precise features, aligned closely with the cardinal directions. The margin of error is so small that it still challenges simple explanation today. Inside the pyramid, the builders created spaces to redirect pressure away from critical chambers. This relays reduce the standing of load coasters past the downmount from the ceiling below. Inside the pyramid, the builders created spaces to redirect pressure away from critical chambers. These layers reduce the downward force pressing on the ceiling of the ceiling below. Despite its age and size, the pyramid hasn't suffered major structural collapse. Surface erosion is visible, but the internal mass remains stable after thousands of years. To align the pyramid with the earth and sky, the builders needed a reliable way to observe celestial movement. Repeated night observation would allow fixed reference points to be identified with increasing precision. To align the pyramid with the earth and sky, the builders needed a reliable way to observe celestial movement. Repeated night observation would allow fixed reference points. The horizon offered a stable visual line between earth and sky. When useful or established, rows and control. This mathematical orientation for redirection and began. Measurement did not depend on a single condition. It likely used both daylight and darkness. During the day, shadows could indicate cable and software the faithful and direct coin. The pyramid was not created by one idea alone, but by the integration of many systems working together. Observation of the sky, control of labor, movement of materials, and structural planning had to remain connected. The Nile River was not only a source of life, it was also a controlled transport route for the pyramid project. Heavy materials could move more efficiently by water than a construction system, not separate from it. Once stone reached land, another stage began immediately. The blocks had to be transferred from river transport to land movement without delay. This handoff required timing, labor coordination, and route control. Transport alone was not enough. A small error at this stage would affect upper layers and weaken the system. This suggests real-time checking during placement, not correction after completion. After the blocks were placed, the outer surface had to be refined.
The finished exterior was intended to appear even, controlled, and continuous.
This step transformed rough assembly into a deliberate final form. When the pyramid reached its final form, the physical structure was complete. But the process remained unwritten.
The result survives with extraordinary clarity while the
Repeated success in pyramid construction depended on standard methods that could be applied again and again. Measurements, block preparation, placement illusion of these mindham were cat out have been sustained. Not every pyramid was built to the same standard, and that difference matters. Some structures show less accurate alignment, uneven surfaces, or incomplete finishing, indicating variation in method or control. Earlier pyramid projects reveal signs of experimentation rather than fixed perfection from the beginning. A shift in slope during construction suggests that builders were adjusting design in response to structural concerns. A project of this scale required more than builders. It required centralized control. Labor, materials, transport, and timing had to be coordinated across different locations under a unified system. Repeated success in pyramid construction depended on standard methods that could be applied again and again. Measurements, block preparation, placement logic, and alignment procedures had. Not every worker performed the same task. The construction system depended on different levels of skill working together. Some groups transport stone, highest hand alignment, and precise blocks. For precision to remain consistent over years, knowledge had to be passed from one group to the next. Methods of shaping, measuring, transporting, and placing stone could not depend on memory alone. On a structure of this scale,
small errors could become major failures if they were not corrected immediately.
alignment had to be verified repeatedly so that each new block matched the intended geometry. The pyramid was not built as a series of isolated steps.
It followed a long-term design from
Each phase depended on the previous one being correct. which required foresight beyond the immediate task. When the final stone was set, the pyramid stood complete, yet the full explanation of its making did not remain beside it. The monument survives with extraordinary physical clarity. One reason the pyramid remains difficult to explain is that its construction is still hard to fully replicate even with modern analysis. Modern engineers can describe many minute parts of pro scale. In the end, the pyramid offers no direct explanation. It does not speak, and it does not clarify itself. And that silence is exactly what keeps the mystery alive. The mystery becomes sharper where theory meets physical evidence and still fails to close every gap. This one explanation that few metal system from quarry to finished monument. Time removed the casing stones, damaged the surface, and erased records, but it did not erase the core achievement, the essential geometry, internal structure, and monument enough to remove every doubt. In the end, the pyramid offers no direct explanation. It does not speak, and it does not clarify itself. It remains present as fact. Measured at silence is exactly what keeps the mystery alive. The main body of the pyramid was built largely from limestone, a material chosen for both availability and structural reliability. Limestone could be quarried in great quantity. Granite appears in the most critical internal spaces where greater strength was required. Harder and heavier than limestone, granite was used where pressure, load, and durability demanded stronger material. The choice of stone was not random. It reflects a clear logic built into the design. Lighter stone served the larger mass, while heavier, stronger stone protected essential internal areas from pressure. The builders may not have written formulas, but the structure shows engineering guided by repeated observation. They learned from weight, movement, fracture, balance, and the way materials responded during each phase of construction. The more closely the pyramid is studied, the clearer its precision becomes, and the deeper the mystery feels. Each measured angle, each aligned surface, and the Great Pyramid is the most precise example, but the other pyramids also matter because they reveal the process of development. Some appear less refined, some have been trained with for time. The pyramid was not only an engineering structure, it was also a declaration of authority, visible across distance. Its scale projected control over labor, land census, and time. Yet power alone does not explain the pyramid. It's its storm that turns a structure designed to serve an idea beyond the visible world. Today, many parts of the pyramid can be measured, tested, and logically explained, but not every part can be fully proven. We can still use the pyramid in the remaining uncertainty. After centuries of study, the pyramid remains one of the clearest achievements of the ancient world and one of the least completely explained. And how is the dean is not a that made it?